So Ruby Franke has her husband and 6 kids, and they are Mormons belonging to the Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints. The Latter-day Saints in the news, not great. Historically, we're going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to move from talking about Ruby and the 8 passengers and go to Jodi Hildebrandt for a moment. And I'm going to make the connection about why, in my opinion, all of this that's happening with 8 passengers is just a symptom or a side effect of what Jodi Hildebrandt has been doing for decades. So let's bring this back, okay? We're talking about Jodi Hildebrandt. So Jodi Hildebrandt operates inside of this church. Now, she is a licensed psychologist who likes to torture people, allegedly. And in my opinion, she's been torturing people. This is coming from a great source, an incredibly brave source, someone you should support, someone whose video you should go watch. This is Jessie Hildebrandt, the niece of Jodi Hildebrandt. Jodi would accuse Jessie, who is 16, of being addicted to pornography, addicted to masturbation. Being kidnapped by a family member and tortured for years on end is really not how you think fights are going to end. So let me give you another victim, a story about another victim of Jodi Hildebrandt, and this guy's name is Adam Paul Steed. He also did an interview recently with Mormon Stories, and it is a little over 5 hours long, and I could not look away for 1 minute of it. This is a man that Jodi got to his wife and ended up ruining his life, and I'm going to give you guys just a few quick examples, okay? So this is a couple, they got married, they wanted to get some couples counseling, and their bishop sent them to Jodi. This guy, though, the Mormon church hated him, and I believe they sent him to Jodi on purpose. Why does the Mormon church hate Adam Paul Steed? Adam Paul went to a camp back in the day where a bunch of Mormon kids go. It's for the scouts. Scouting is huge in Mormon culture, like huge, huge, huge. They love going there. They love doing the camping. They love all of that stuff. And this guy went to the camping program. When he was there, one of the people who worked there, who was a Mormon kid himself and was part of the church, Adam found out through the worst possible way that this guy was a predator, a child predator. He had preyed on Adam. Adam went to the people who worked at the church, who were part of at the scout camp, who were part of the Mormon church, and told them everything that this guy was doing. And they're like, Adam, it's important that you don't tell your family about this. We're going to take care of it.
You know, that's a very common theme amongst religious camps.
And predators in general. Don't tell everywhere. Your mom.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell a parent. Don't tell a mom. Don't tell an adult. Don't tell anybody. Yeah.
That's classic. So Adam, being super devout, was like, all right, I'm sure you guys got this. But then this guy wasn't stopping. This predator was not stopping. And then he was trying to befriend Adam's younger brother. And Adam was like, Nope. It stops here. If you're not going to do something, I'm calling the police. And he called the police. The police came, and this predator admitted on the spot to SAing 24 kids and more that he can't think of.
What?
Yes. The police were so disgusted with the heinousness of this guy's actions that they felt, not only should I arrest this guy, but I have to arrest him in a way that the kids know that this guy's evil. The kids have to know that this is not right, because they are probably a little bit familiar with the fact that Adam didn't get help from the people in charge of the camp.
Yeah.
So they marched this pervert's ass all the way to underneath the flag of the United States and arrested him under there. Gave him a rough arrest under there. They wanted the kids to see it.
Yes.
They wanted them to. They wanted it to be symbolic because they were so friggin' grossed out with what they were discovering.
Although, you know what, I have to say, It's bittersweet because, sure, great, thank you so much for making a spectacle out of it. But at the same time, if this were a person of color that you were arresting, it would not take you a nanosecond to beat the ever-loving shit out of them before you arrest them or ask any questions.
Thank you. Golly. That's my dog drinking some water. I'm going to let him finish. He's still at it. Thirsty boy. Adam's troubles are just beginning because apparently the Mormon church really did not like.
Of course they wouldn't.
That he had gone and exposed this, because they have a child abuse scandal that would make the Catholic Church's scandal look like small time. Okay?
No way.
These guys this was systemic. They were out there targeting kids.
Sorry, was this like a known thing?
Within the church, they knew because they would just move these guys around.
There's evidence of this?
Oh, yes. So this guy, Adam Paul Steed, he gave to the doctor that runs Mormon Stories a more than like 500-page document from things that he was able to subpoena from Jodi Hildebrandt, from the camp, from Brigham Young University where he went, which is a Mormon university.
Oh my God, Brigham Young. I actually do know about Brigham Young.
Yeah, so he subpoenaed all this stuff because the way they went after ruining his life is really unbelievable, okay? So when he and his wife were about to get married, I mentioned before that they have these whole covens of the quorums of the 70 and stuff
Ark
like
of
that.
the Covens, yeah, I remember.
So the first wife's name is Morwenna. So Morwenna's family is having dinner, and at this dinner in attendance is a high-ranking quorum of the 70 named quorum, like Father Helam or something like that. So Helam's at dinner with their family, and he knows who Adam is because Helam is a president of the scouting place, which is something Adam didn't know until this guy died.
Right.
So he had a huge conflict of interest, and he was having dinner with the parents of Morwenna because Morwenna's dad was about to become like an area manager for Mormons or something like that. And he was like, that kid is the camp kid that your girl's trying to marry. Don't marry her to him. He's evil. For pointing out that people were molesting kids.
Yeah, obviously.
So there was this whole thing. The day they were getting married, the bishop was super duper late, which was not like him. And then it turns out Helam was calling this bishop saying, do not marry these people. Don't give them their temple recommend, because this guy ratted out child molesters. And the guy's bishop was like, no, I'm going to marry them anyway. When it's time to get married, what Adam and Morwenna have to do is essentially elope, which is they don't have like the blessings of the parents on Morwenna's side. But they did get their temple recommend. And the day that they were supposed to get married, the bishop was super duper late to, do the ceremonies, which is really unlike him. And it's later on discovered because the bishop's secretary really had this weighing on her conscience. And then Helam died. So she was like, I feel like I can tell you the truth now, Adam. The reason your bishop was late to the wedding was because Helam was on the phone with him for 45 minutes and they got into a screaming match, which is unheard of because this guy is a quorum of the 70 and that's a really respectable position and everybody knows Helam. He's in charge of one of the more important quorums and stuff. So it was a big deal. And this woman remembered it. The secretary remembered it, and she told Adam later on. They were really defending child predators. And they did not like Adam's bravery in exposing that. He got teased at school mercilessly, all that stuff, whatever. You continue on. He marries Morwenna and they want to get some counseling. His bishop, who I thought was kind of a decent guy, sends him to Jodi Hildebrandt.
Oh, wow.
And this is how we get some more information about the truly psychotic evilness of this woman.
Wait a second. Was his bishop the bishop we were talking about at the beginning?
Which one?
The one that Jodi was tight with?
Jodi's tight with bishops.
Oh, bishops plural.
Bishops. Almost all of her business, and she is a multimillionaire, almost all of her business is referrals from bishops.
Okay.
She is the go-to person. And, when you have that kind of recommendation, the people who are in the church are in the, part of that, they're really devout. So it's like hearing, God's right-hand man is referring you to somebody, and that's amazing. I feel so lucky.
Right.
I feel so lucky that this woman is willing to help me and my wife. So they go to see her, and she puts them in group counseling sessions with other couples, like 4 or 5 other couples. She separates the men and the women and then begins to tell them 2 different stories that will eventually lead to their marriage being ruined. Allow me to explain. So Adam gets put in a group with 4 or 5 other dudes, and it turns out all of the dudes in his group are there to get help with crazy stuff. Voyeurism.
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry.
They're there to get help with voyeurism.
Okay.
Addictions. Assault.
Oh, wow.
Lusting
okay.
after kids. And Adam is in there because he was like, I just want to communicate better with my wife and stuff. And I watched porn once or twice a year. And she was like, Jodi's like, same thing, same to same. Get in that group. And this starts messing with Adam's mind every week, having to be in a group and being associated with these frigging psychotic perverts. And then he notices his wife just doesn't like him anymore. What? Mm-hmm. She's not really talking to him the same. She's not really being affectionate. There's no hugging. There's no touching. And she's pregnant. And he's trying to be really understanding. They have a 1-year-old and she's pregnant again. And he's really trying to be supportive of his wife. But things are getting so bizarre and he doesn't understand it. Later on, you find out that Jodi, when she's separating these people, are telling the wives, or specifically Morwenna at least, crazy stuff. She's telling her that basically Adam is the same as the other guys in there. Same as the voyeurists, same as the exhibitionists, same as the people who are lusting after kids. And so Morwenna is like, oh my God, ew. And she's trying to forgive her husband. She thinks he's confessing these things to Jodi because that's what she's saying. And he's not confessing it to her. And remember, impeccable honesty is like one of their virtues. And this guy, Adam, was honest to a fault, right? He once had a friend who gave him a gift or something like that, and he felt so endeared by it that he was guilty. He went to his wife and he's like, let's not hang out with these people anymore. The wife gave me a gift and I really felt really good about it and I don't ever want to have bad thoughts. You don't have to tell people that, that you saw someone walking down the street and thought they were hot. But this guy would do that. He would go to his wife and be like, I'm so sorry. I looked at something and I thought it was sexy and I'm really sorry. I was at the doctor's office and I saw this pamphlet, and he would call his bishop. Oh my God, bishop, I'm so sorry. I saw this pamphlet. It's a woman in there. She's not fully dressed and I looked at it for longer than I should have. And I'm sorry. This bishop is telling everything to Jodi, and Jodi is taking these things and using abstract language. She'll be saying your husband is struggling, he's dealing with these addictions, he's sexually deviant, he's not being impeccably truthful, he's living in distortion. She's not saying anything, okay? She's not saying he watched porn twice a year. She's just saying all this other stuff. He's living in distortion. He's not at peace with himself. He's not telling the truth. He doesn't have impeccable honesty. And they're what? And the wife, she's believing this because it's coming from a very reputable source, and it's starting to put a huge wedge between the relationship. But this is where I really want y'all to pay attention. She started coaching this woman in the same way that I believe she's been coaching Ruby Franke of 8 Passengers. It gets so crazy. So Morwenna is starting to distance herself from Adam, her husband, and Adam is really feeling it. He's in a group with perverts. He doesn't believe he should be there. His wife is distancing herself from him, and he doesn't understand why. He doesn't know yet that Jodi's lying to her. Jodi is giving them instructions never to speak at home, ever. And so Morwenna and him are not allowed to discuss what's got them so worked up. And then it gets even deeper and deeper than that. Morwenna starts drafting contracts and giving them to Adam. The contracts are drafted by Jodi, and Adam knows this because later on he sees all of the email correspondence that have come out when he subpoenaed Jodi Hildebrandt stuff. She would revise these contracts for his wife and tell them, hand this to Adam. And it would be like, I am no longer going to talk to you in the hallways, cook for you. If your stuff's on the floor, it's not my responsibility to get it. And she is taking this to heart. I don't blame Morwenna. She is being brainwashed here. She calls the police on Adam once and says, I'm being abused. The police are like, oh my gosh, Morwenna, I'm so sorry. Tell me exactly what's going on. Adam's breaking our contract. His backpack is on the floor and it's not my job to pick it up.
What? She called the police for this?
Because she is brainwashed, yo. I'm telling you, Jodi Hildebrandt knows how to talk. And the police are like, Morwenna, that's not abuse. I'm very sorry. And then she calls him again a little while later and says that Adam shoved me. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's unacceptable. Can you please tell me what was going on? I was standing in the door and he shoved me. Were you blocking him from leaving and he was trying to leave? Yes. Morwenna, that's not abuse. And it goes on and on and on like this. She would convince this woman that regular stuff was really criminal. And then she would set things up to literally entrap Adam. What do I mean? She's told this woman, Morwenna, Jodi Hildebrandt has told Morwenna, don't talk to your husband, don't hug him, don't kiss him, don't touch him, nothing. And so you're in a relationship with your wife. This is your only partner for intimacy, and it's been weeks, months that you haven't been intimate. And then she tells Morwenna, ask your husband to give your newborn baby, who's just like a few weeks old, maybe a month old, a bath. And then she does. She says, Adam, will you please bathe the baby? Yeah, baby, I will. No problem. Let me take the baby. I go upstairs. I get in the tub. My baby's in the tub. I'm cleaning my baby. It's a nice bonding moment between father and child. And then comes part 2. Jodi has told Morwenna, get in that washroom wearing your finest lingerie when he's in the bathtub with your kid. Huh?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Okay, so she does. She goes in there, and then Adam's really excited. Oh my God, my wife is here and she's wearing lingerie. Obviously, like, our cold streak has ended. And he says to her, baby, let me get the baby out of the tub, and then I'll be back and we can do our thing. And she's like, bet. So she removes the baby, comes back, and just looks at Adam with disgust and leaves him there. Later on, he finds out that Jodi is now phrasing this to authorities, kind of building a case for divorce, that Adam was aroused by being in the tub with his child. That's what they said. No. That's what they said in court. And they said that this guy should be afraid to be near children because he's getting aroused by them, blah, blah, blah. That's what she had Morwenna do. And then a few more examples of how she was manipulating this woman. And this is why I think that Ruby Franke really stood no chance when this woman entered the scene. Jodi Hildebrandt also advises Morwenna to let her husband Adam know he's no longer welcome to sleep in the bed. He can sleep in the living room on the floor. Sound familiar?
Oh, on the floor.
Sound familiar?
Was it also for 7 months?
No, but for a really horrible reason, and I'm going to tell you why. So, I mean, I'm trying to draw the connection between Chad and Adam right now, okay? But she tells him sleep on the floor, and he does it. He does it for a while, and then he gets fed up. Adam's like, this is my house. I pay the bills. That's my bed. Morwenna, you're my wife. I love you. If you don't want to sleep in the bed with me, that is your choice. But I am going to sleep in my bed. We don't have to do anything. You don't have to touch me, but I'm not sleeping on the floor. This is too much. And then Jodi Hildebrandt and Morwenna decide that was attempted rape.
How?
She has a way of taking a mundane situation and blowing it up to make you believe that there's a bigger problem there that only she can solve. Remember, Jessie just gets into an argument at a family function and decides to give herself some space, and that's what leads to her enduring years of torture. And now this is what she's doing to Adam, and she will not let up. This guy loses his wife, loses his kids, loses his reputation, and also gets kicked out of school. The school is really tight with Jodi, and he has a counselor at school. Adam does. And remember, one of Jodi's no-nos was you don't get help from somebody else. When he starts telling the counselors at Brigham Young University, where he is attending while his wife is pregnant, the counselors are shocked because they might be Mormons and stuff, but they're not crazy. They're looking at him like, this is not counseling, this is criminal, and this woman should not be doing this. And then Brigham Young counselors are now having an opinion that's at odds with Jodi Hildebrandt, and she cannot have that. So she works to get him kicked out of BYU.
How does she do that?
She calls BYU up and makes up a bunch of stories about what's been going on in their therapy sessions. Again, breaking confidentiality, okay? They make you sign something when your bishop is referring you to Jodi that says that you're waving away your rights. But she went after him. She called the school, told him he was a deviant, he was all this stuff, he wasn't safe to be around children, and his wife ends up leaving him, and he can't even go pick up his own kids without somebody being there to supervise.
Yeah.
So he has some friends at school that volunteer and step up to go and help him out. And the school goes after those friends. He has one Iranian friend that the school goes after him and was like, you have this picture here of you kissing a guy. Are you homosexual? It was an old picture of him kissing his cousin on the cheek during like a celebration. Typical Iranian culture. Nothing to do
Okay, yeah,
but
of course.
nothing.
I mean, you said he's Iranian, and already there's going to be a problem with him to begin with.
Nice Mormon girl helping him out gets dragged into the office of the head honcho at BYU. She's a 4.0 nursing student, and she is kept in there for hours. These bishops, Jodi, all of them, they know each other. So when you confess everything to your bishop, you go to your bishop about everything. So they know that this woman has SA trauma in her past, and they convince her that the only reason she's chilling with Adam, it's a manifestation of her trauma, and that this guy is evil for you, and if you continue hang out with him, we have no choice but to kick you out of BYU. And this happens over and over again, and these are in subpoena documents, so this is no one's opinion. This happened. It goes over and over again. Everybody who tries to help Adam gets destroyed, or they threaten them to kick them out of BYU, and then ultimately Adam is kicked out of BYU on some frivolous, trumped up stuff. And it doesn't stop. Jodi believes that she has to destroy a marriage in order to fix it. I mean, I guess she's looking for a problem that she can fix, because I don't know why else. That doesn't make any sense. She goes on from there. Adam is now not staying with Morwenna. They're living separately and stuff like that. And she's not happy with this. She wants it to be even worse for Adam. She wants to torture him even more, because obviously this guy's trying to wriggle away from her grip. So she starts training Morwenna on how to sound, how to act, to start manipulating the system. Adam has visitation with his kids, and where they agree to meet up is at like some sort of police station, and there's a call that or an email that was subpoenaed by Jodi that has like a transcript of Jodi and Morwenna talking, and Jodi is explaining to her how to sound ignorant, how to sound innocent but inquisitive, how to not sound like a bitch when you're asking questions that will make you look like a victim. And Morwenna does this at the pickup drop-off location. Oh, aren't things supposed to be like this? Golly, I'm not sure. I'm just an ignorant woman. And then she emails Jodi later. The suckers fell for it. And Adam starts to lose more and more rights to see his kids, more and more of his life. The money is going. He had a case against the Scouts that he was suing them for all of the things that they had done. The church had manipulated him and told him, if you sue and get punitive damages, it's going to come out of, the donations that the church gets, and you shouldn't really they're worth over $100 billion. Okay. They are lying to him, and it goes on, and Jodi Hildebrandt is at the center of this. And there are countless other people who have been in contact with Jodi Hildebrandt at some point in their life and have had their lives destroyed because of it. Kids who have been tortured and have had psychological issues that haunt them well into adult years, more and more and more. And there's this theme of her saying things without really saying anything, distortion and living in truth and blah, blah, blah. What does this stuff even mean? You obviously have no self-discipline. You're obviously deriving some sort of sick pleasure in doing what you're doing. And then using this to brainwash people and really get them on her side. She finds people at their most vulnerable. And so Adam proceeds to basically lose everything. He is a shell of a person, and his wife continues to entrap him with the help of Jodi Hildebrandt. I'm telling you guys, it's a 5-hour interview. It's worth every second. There is no end to the sickening things that you will see come out. One of the worst things that Jodi did to Adam, and this is I don't even know if I want to say this because it's honestly so gross, but I want to say this because it's relevant to the story, but it's a gross point, and so maybe fast forward if things like assault make you uncomfortable. Viewer discretion is advised. So they wanted to seal the deal and get Adam away from his kids by saying that he was assaulting his kids and acting inappropriately with them. So they took their 1-year-old daughter, Adam's 1-year-old daughter, spread her legs open, and tried to train her to say daddy pee-pee, daddy pee-pee.
No way.
Swear to God.
How did this come out?
Through all the subpoena documents. These women were chatting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Idiots. And in the case, he was able to subpoena everything.
I am absolutely shocked.
Can you believe that? And so when people are coming out and saying, when Ruby is coming out from 8 passengers and saying my kids can't be with other kids because my 3-year-old is addicted to adult content and my 6-year-old was going around town assaulting everybody. None of that stuff is real, because this is a tried and true method from the mind of Jodi Hildebrandt that even Adam pointed out something amazing. Even their mugshots, they're looking up like this instead of looking at you straight on to make them look saintly, even in their mugshot photos. This woman thinks about everything, the way she was talking to Morwenna, advising her of her tone, how to come across, how to trick people. She is a master. She knows how to do this stuff, and she doesn't let you deviate from scripts. Remember, and then you have to tell people, I'm manipulating you. What? So Ruby Franke, if she came into contact with Jodi Hildebrandt, woman stood no chance. Mind you, I'm not excusing anything she did. She's an evil, stupid, foolish woman who ruined the lives of her children, and they're probably going to need to get help for the rest of their lives over what she has allowed into her home. But make no mistake, this woman is not the be-all, end-all. Ruby Franke is just one in probably dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people that have had their lives ripped apart by Jodi Hildebrandt, a woman who is enriched by the Mormon Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. They send her all of her business, and she found somebody, Ruby, who had a platform, and she just could not resist, I think, because she shut down 8 passengers and moved on to connections, right? Getting her in her sphere, making it about her. And she's sitting there and spewing all this nonsense to people. And when you watch the Ruby Franke videos of her trying to rationalize what she's doing to kids, to her own kids, it honestly seems like she's trying to remember things like, oh, what was it again? It's impeccable honesty. Like, she's trained. She is trained. She's telling her kids that what they're doing is wrong, but she's kind of laughing because she can't help herself. Some of her kids are funny. They have a cute personality, and she's looking at them like, LOL, this is really funny. But you know that when she talks to her coach, and the kids were also in therapy with her, when she talks to them, she's going to get like her lessons and what she should be doing and everything. Like, Jodi wants to run their lives. So that's, I think we're going to end it there. That's quite a bit.
A theme that stuck out to me within the story, within Adam's section of the story primarily, is the fact that the justice system tends to believe women more than men. And I understand why that is so, because certain crimes, or generally crimes, happen. Violent crimes happen, to women and children a lot more than they happen to men, or are documented a lot more than they would happen to men, okay? But in this specific scenario, I feel so strongly for Adam in what he had to endure, because it's a classic example of a male victim not being believed because of the involvement of women in some capacity, and the level of manipulation that Jodi displayed when she was trying to destroy this man's life. Very alarming, and also
Crazy. Very
very reminiscent of you pointing the finger at X, Y, and Z. Like, open up this woman's search history. I want to see what she's up to.
I want to know if there's any missing kids associated with her, or like if she's dealt with any kids that went missing, because I don't think it's a far cry to say that she might have taken some of these things too far and accidentally killed somebody. Like, I think that's a real possibility. She had people sleeping outside in the snow.
Allegedly, in our opinion.
Yeah, I believe that this woman is probably also responsible for some missing kids, some never going to be found around again kids, because this is not her first rodeo. She's too meticulous. She's too methodical. She's done this.
Right. This reminds me of a lot of really big cases that have been covered in terms of, what is the word I'm looking for? Not human manipulation, but human mind control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it just kind of, a lot of the things that she's doing mirrors those stories for me in the techniques that she employs, in the targets that she's chosen, and most importantly, in the governing party that supports her.
Yeah, she has a lot of support from those bishops. She has a lot of support from the church. That's where she's getting all of her money. and they are happy to continue to refer her, even though they're hearing the whisperings of all of this stuff, ignoring the condition that Jesse was showing up to church in. Giving Ruby a list so that poor girl had to be traipsed around to every single person's house and told that I'm a master manipulator, laying down at the bottom of the car so that people wouldn't see that she's duct tape and bound. She had to beg for forgiveness of Jodi, on her hands and knees. She had to she would write down all of the sins that she committed and didn't commit just to make the torture stop, and Jodi would read it and she would have to be on all fours asking for forgiveness while it was happening.
I cannot even begin to imagine how many lives have been affected by this woman directly or indirectly because of how she's her insane desire to control people.
It's disgusting. I can't even. Yeah. So when I saw this story and I saw the attention that was going specifically to Ruby Franke, I needed to let people know that while Ruby Franke is definitely a horrible person who deserves all of this negative attention she's getting and deserves to go to prison, there is another masterful person at play here. And if people don't catch on to the fact that Jodi Hildebrandt is the real devil in disguise here, she might get away with this. And the way that she is continuing to flex her power on those poor kids from 8 passengers, telling authorities that those kids are predators and that they should not be allowed to be near other kids. Why are people listening to her?
Honestly, the only predator I see here is you.
She had, those kids are separated from their family. They're not allowed to be housed with their siblings because of what she said.
That is so...
Because even if it's not true, you have to investigate.
Immensely tragic.
You have to investigate that first. You can't let it happen. So the 12-year-old and the 10-year-old have to be kept by themselves.
What a disturbing process. And that's so...
They're saved and they're still not saved.
And they will never be okay. They're not going to be. I mean, these are the things that you learn to live with, but as somebody who's experienced trauma young, you don't ever really move on from it.
No, you're not going to move on from it. It's going to follow you the rest of your life. These are they were indoctrinated. When they found the kids, they had the bondage, the ligature marks and stuff. That just really made me think of Jesse's story. And when I was listening to everything that Jesse had gone to, that poor soul, that person described for us in detail, and I just want to thank them for being so transparent and vulnerable. But the things that Jesse told us,
that's very brave. You know what? To take a stand like that against not just your community, but basically an entire population of people, because you know that they're so diehard for one another.
Her parents still don't talk to her.
Is exemplary. I honestly applaud them for their bravery because, you see... It's cause and effect, you see it happen to you and it's easy to just kind of shove it under the rug and be like, I will learn to live with it. But then you see that something like this that you could possibly be ignoring could destroy however many lives. Good for them. Honestly, good for them.
Yeah. They did not want to come out and talk about this stuff because obviously they're dealing with the trauma of this stuff to this day, but they saw what was happening and they saw the kids and they heard the abuse and the slander, and they knew, man, I know this story and I know what's going to happen and I can't let that happen to these kids. And so thank you to Jesse. Thank you for their bravery and for coming out, and thank you to Adam. Watching the Adam interview, I cried. I cried because Adam is visibly shaken. He has to split the interview up into 2 parts because he just cannot continue. The trauma of reliving this stuff was too much for him. And when you hear about I think we've said enough. So we're going to end it here. Thank you to everyone who's made it this far, and we encourage you here at the Bred in Captivity team to go and look at the links in the description for the source material where I got a lot of this information. It's a lot of interviews, it's a lot of hours, but you will not be disappointed. These are really worthy stories to hear, and it would be amazing if we could all amplify these voices. I know we covered a lot of sensitive issues today, and I know there must have been a lot of triggering content here for people. So thank you for sticking it out, and we are with you in that. This was also triggering for me. But we're going to leave you guys now with the visual palette cleanser while we hear about this week's sponsors, and we'll be back very soon for another episode of Bred in Captivity. Until then, peace. This episode of Bred in Captivity is brought to you by Daylight Lamps. Daylight lamps. Trick your brain into working 24 hours a day so that you can pursue your dream of becoming a successful YouTuber. Until next time, stay safe.